My name's Diana Ashe, and I am a MSW student here at the SDEC Center. This is my first year, and I actually intern at Bonzo West. And I have been part of the military since '97 when I joined. I joined the Marine Corps, and I met my husband in there a year later, and I've been part of the military since.
What is your personal experience with military-dependent children?
I have to say it's definitely changed ever since we've been in more and more conflict. Before the conflict, it was vastly, I think, different. A little more freedom. The kids were being kids. You know, they still kind of had, yes, they moved and everything, but the overall general atmosphere of the neighborhood and everybody was just nice, caring. Everybody was family. Everything was really close. And then as the conflict started moving on in the years and years, you just saw a lot of retaliation with some of the kids, not understanding. Some of the younger ones at times did better. They would seek out, if it was the dad deployed, they'd seek out other, like friends would get together in their husband's home. So we switched. Dad played with the boys, gave him the attention and everything. But I think at the same time, they looked like they're crying for help and no one's listening. I mean, you can go outside and you see more and more of them not supervised. No one's paying attention, so it's different when you live on there.
Yeah. Being a military mom and former military, do you see a difference between base schools versus public schools? I know that the one at Camp Hamilton is actually run, it's not run by the DoD, it's run by the state. But I guess most of them are run by the DoD.
Most of them are.
I'm mainly asking, so the kind of DoD-run schools on base versus public schools.
Yeah, and I can even just say when I worked at a DoD school overseas, and the teachers really know, and they have a sense of what's going on with the kids. They're more readily available, they're more trained. Everybody can connect to each other because they're all going through the same thing. So you really don't see that factor of kids feeling like they're left out, they don't fit in. Everybody, you see less of groups, like this is one group, this is the other. There's no big cliques that I see, especially in elementary schools with kids, even through 6th to 8th grade. And out in town, the cliques start very young, and kids who don't feel like they're part of the group, you can really see them stand out on the outside. And a lot of kids, especially those that who are military and go out to civilian school, don't feel a part of it because there's different things that happen in civilian schools. In military schools and DoD schools, they realize that mom or dad may not always be there if they are the service member. Where out in town, it's great to always incorporate family, but there's more events where they're implementing mom and dad both in there and things, and it sometimes makes kids feel a little uncomfortable. Sometimes people really don't understand, well, what do you mean you don't have a dad here? And they have nobody to relate to. And teachers quite often say, I just don't know what to do. This isn't like them, but I just don't know what to do. I need help.
Yeah.
So.
What do you think are some of the advantages and challenges that military-connected children have?
I'd have to say, again, it's over time. It doesn't feel like it's an immediate thing, but they do gain some resiliency, coping, very adaptive. I find that they're a lot of times a lot easier to relate to other people, and not that others can't relate, but just they know what others are going through, and they can feel it on a different level, but on a level where a lot of kids have never been introduced to moving or fear or anything, and just knowing those types of things, I think that they really learn how to be more assertive, public, caring, and everything. So
how has, or are you familiar with, and you are, the initiatives and the special programs that are targeted for military-connected children?
Special programs as in for after school or?
Anything that would kind of benefit the military child.
Yes, there's a lot of programs. I think where it lacks is people knowing the resources and having those resources readily available is, I think, where it really lacks. But there are definitely a lot out there.
So the military child going to go through a lot of changes. How or what do you think we can make be a constant in our schools? So that way, no matter where they're stationed, there is a constant in their school that they can kind of rely on.
I think big thing is having group type workshops within the school available, and just the resources in general. A lot of schools, they don't have resources. They don't have anything for the kids. So many things are being taken away, and they need routine. They need something that they can rely on, that they can have, that's consistent, because they're not getting it at home right now, especially with multiple deployments. So the more constant, I think, and structure you can have within a school and everybody working within a community and as a group, the better off the kids will be.
Yeah. What do you think is the top priority when dealing with the needs of military-connected children?
The top priority, I think, is you need to listen to them. And nobody's listening to the kids, and if you listen to them and seek their needs and meet them where they're at, we'll be able to actually make a difference. We're so quickly to judge and have that answer for them, but that's not what they're looking for. They want to be heard, and they want to be able to voice. So.
Yeah. How do you think the public education has responded to the needs of military children?
I think that they're definitely making some good strides. Some are more open than others, obviously. I think where we sometimes lack is, especially when our students transfer from a military-based school, or the father got out and now they're going to civilian, and just all the different states they go to. Every state has a different way of doing things, and either having a record or not having a record, and it really affects the children, and they don't know where they're supposed to be at grade level. So I think if all the schools and states can get on board nationally when it comes to children who are in the military and they transfer a lot, it will really help them educationally. So.
That's an extremely important aspect of this program. What are some of the valuable lessons that you've learned from this workshop this weekend?
I definitely have to say resources. Not only that, it's linking the community to work as a whole. And that's one big thing I keep hearing throughout the whole thing, is having a community involved with the children. Not just one part, not just the immediate family, but everybody. Peers, friends, students, staff, teachers, neighbors, everybody being a part really is going to help the child. So.
And last question. What has been the hardest thing being a military mom and dealing with your child being a military connected child?
Not always having that answer, I think, for me, is I'm a person who likes to take care of things, figure things out, and sometimes you just can't. And there is no answer to certain things, but the biggest challenge is making sure you're meeting each child at their need.